For 3 years straight, ending in 2025, the Earth ran a fever it had never sustained before. The planet crossed 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming, the exact line that nearly every government on Earth once swore we would never permanently pass. And here's the part that should make you sit up. The scientists watching the data weren't just worried about the heat. They were worried about something far stranger, that the planet might have quietly flipped a switch that doesn't switch back. Because climate change isn't a straight line. Most people picture it as a slow, steady dial, a little hotter each year, something we can adjust to. But the Earth doesn't always work that way. Some of its most important systems behave like a chair tipped back on 2 legs. You can lean and lean and lean, and nothing seems to happen. Until, suddenly, everything happens at once. Scientists call these moments tipping points. And what if crossing them made climate change accelerate, faster than any model predicted, faster than we could ever hope to stop? To understand the danger, you have to understand one terrifying word: feedback. Right now, the Arctic is covered in bright white ice that acts like a giant mirror, bouncing the sun's heat back into space. But as that ice melts, it reveals the dark ocean underneath. Dark water absorbs heat instead of reflecting it. More heat melts more ice. Less ice means more dark water, which absorbs even more heat. Do you see the trap? The warming causes more warming. The system starts feeding itself, and it no longer needs us to keep going. This is why acceleration is the real nightmare. Not the warming we cause, but the warming the planet begins to cause on its own. And this isn't theoretical anymore. The signs have already begun. The change starts quietly, so quietly that most people mistake it for normal weather. A summer that's a little too hot. A once-in-a-century flood that somehow arrives twice in 10 years. Wildfire smoke drifting over cities that never used to burn. Each event, on its own, is easy to dismiss. That's the deception of it. We are wired to notice sudden shocks, not slow slides. And so, year by year, the baseline quietly moves, and we adjust, and we forget what normal used to feel like. But let's follow the acceleration, and watch how it climbs from your daily life all the way up to the fate of civilization. It begins in your home, and in your wallet. As heat waves intensify, the first casualty is something invisible: the power grid. On the hottest days, everyone turns on their air conditioning at once, and the grid buckles under the strain. Blackouts roll through cities during the deadliest heat, turning apartments into ovens. Then comes the water. Prolonged droughts crack reservoirs and wither the farmland that feeds us. And when crops fail in one part of the world, the price of food rises everywhere, because our food supply is a single, interconnected global web. But that's just the beginning, because next, the crisis comes for the entire economy. And it starts with a surprisingly boring villain: insurance. In regions battered by repeated fires and floods, insurance companies do the math and simply refuse to cover homes anymore. Without insurance, banks won't issue mortgages. Without mortgages, property values collapse. Entire neighborhoods can become financially worthless, not because they're underwater yet, but because the risk of them going underwater is now too high to bet on. Whole coastlines could see their economies quietly evaporate, long before the sea ever arrives. And the sea is coming. This is where we reach the first true giant among tipping points: the ice sheets. Greenland holds enough frozen water to raise global sea levels by around 7 meters, more than 24 feet. Scientists now warn that the slow-motion collapse of the Greenland Ice Sheet is one of the most likely tipping points in a world warmer than 1.5 degrees, with some studies placing the threshold as low as 1.6 degrees. It wouldn't all melt overnight. This plays out over centuries. But once it truly begins, it may be impossible to stop. A commitment to a redrawn map of the world that no future generation could undo. Now picture what that means for the great coastal cities. Miami, Jakarta, Shanghai, Mumbai, parts of them slowly, permanently, going under. Not in a single dramatic wave, but street by street, decade by decade. And here's a consequence people rarely consider. You don't need a city to be fully submerged for it to become unlivable. You just need the salt water to seep into the drinking water, or a single storm surge to flood the subways. The city doesn't drown, It's abandoned. And when cities are abandoned, people move. Which brings us to the next, larger escalation, one that reshapes entire nations. The experts have a clinical name for it, climate migration. But what it really means is the largest movement of human beings in history. As parts of the world near the equator become too hot for the human body to survive outdoors, hundreds of millions of people will be forced to move toward the cooler poles. Think about that scale. Not thousands, not millions. Potentially hundreds of millions of people, all searching for a livable home at the same time. This triggers a crisis that is no longer about weather at all. It's about borders, resources, and power. Nations that remain livable would face immense pressure at their frontiers. History shows that mass migrations can strain even the strongest societies, and here the pressure could be relentless. And the cruelest irony? The countries that will suffer first and worst are often the ones that did the least to cause the problem. A farmer in a poor equatorial nation who has barely used any fossil fuels in his life may lose everything, while the industrialized nations that filled the atmosphere with carbon sit further from the equator, buying themselves precious time. But no one is truly safe. And here is where the story reaches its most frightening chapter. Because there's a tipping point that could plunge parts of the world into not heat, but cold. It's called the AMOC, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. Think of it as a colossal conveyor belt in the ocean, carrying warm water from the tropics up to the North Atlantic. It's the reason Europe, despite being as far north as icy Canada, enjoys mild, livable weather. This current is the invisible engine of European civilization, and it's slowing down. As Greenland's ice melts, it dumps enormous amounts of fresh water into the North Atlantic. That fresh water disrupts the delicate salt and temperature balance that drives the entire conveyor belt. The AMOC is now in its weakest state in over 1,000 years. And in 2024, a group of 44 scientists published an open letter warning that the risk of its collapse has been dramatically underestimated. Some studies now suggest that collapse could begin as early as the 2060s. If that conveyor belt shuts down, the consequences sound like science fiction. Northwest Europe could be plunged into brutal, prolonged winters. Farmland across Britain and Scandinavia could freeze. And here's the twist that makes tipping points so dangerous. They don't happen in isolation. Scientists have identified over a dozen ways these systems can destabilize each other, like a line of dominoes. The melting of Greenland could help shut down the AMOC. A weakened AMOC could shift rainfall patterns and help push the Amazon rainforest, the lungs of the planet, past its own tipping point, turning lush jungle into dry savanna. And a dying Amazon would release billions of tons of stored carbon, accelerating the very warming that started the chain. One domino, tipping the next, tipping the next. This is the true meaning of accelerated climate change, not a single disaster, but a cascade. A global chain reaction where each crisis makes the next one more likely and more severe. So the question becomes desperate and urgent. Could we stop it? Could humanity adapt or even fight back? This is where human ingenuity enters the story. And it's not all hopeless. Adaptation is already beginning. The Netherlands, a nation that has battled the sea for centuries, is building floating neighborhoods and vast, ingenious flood barriers. Engineers are designing crops that can survive drought and salt water. Cities are painting roofs white to reflect heat and planting forests of trees to cool their streets. On the boldest frontier, scientists are exploring geoengineering, technologies to actively cool the planet. One controversial idea is to spray reflective particles into the upper atmosphere to dim the sun, mimicking the cooling effect of a massive volcanic eruption. But every one of these solutions carries a shadow. Seawalls protect the rich cities that can afford them, while poorer regions drown, hardening inequality into concrete. And geoengineering may be the most dangerous gamble of all. If you dim the sun but never stop emitting carbon, you become addicted to the fix. Stop spraying for even a few years, and all the suppressed heat could come roaring back in a sudden, catastrophic spike, a phenomenon called termination shock. You'd be holding back an ocean of heat with a switch you can never turn off. And who gets to control the planet's thermostat? A single nation, acting alone, could alter the weather for the entire world, triggering conflicts we have no rules to resolve. So imagine the world a century from now, if the acceleration wins. It's a planet of stark divisions. In the far north, in Canada, Scandinavia, and Russia, newly temperate lands become the crowded strongholds of civilization, packed with the descendants of climate migrants. The equator is dotted with vast regions abandoned to killer heat. Coastlines are redrawn, and the drowned skeletons of old cities rise from the shallows as eerie monuments. Humanity survives, but in a smaller, harder, more fractured world, forever managing a climate that no longer obeys the gentle rhythm that gave birth to human history. But here is the final thought, the one that should stay with you long after this ends. For 10,000 years, human civilization flourished during a period scientists call the Holocene, a rare, freakishly stable climate. Every farm, every city, every empire, everything we have ever built was constructed during this one calm afternoon in the Earth's violent history. We came to believe that stability was normal, that it was ours by right. But the Earth has been many things before. A frozen snowball, a steaming hothouse with no ice at all. It was never obligated to stay comfortable for us. So the real question was never whether the Earth will survive. It will. It has shrugged off asteroids and ice ages, and will keep spinning long after us, indifferent and eternal. The real question is whether the brief, beautiful window of stability that allowed us to exist is a permanent feature of our home, or a temporary gift we are, right now, choosing to give back. And if that window is closing, the final question is the hardest of all. Not whether we can survive on the planet we're creating, but whether the civilization we know was only ever possible on the planet we're leaving behind.